Hello. My name is Katrien Depuydt. I work for the Dutch Language Institute. I'm by origin a lexicographer, historical lexicographer, and linguist. And I will be talking to you about the infrastructure we have developed for historical Dutch corpus development. And I called it a beautiful history of Galahad and Lancelot. And I'll explain to you later why. Um, Galahad and Lancelot, they all went for a quest in search for the Holy Grail. So, the Arthurian romance is Galahad is the son of Lancelot. Lancelot didn't make it. Galahad found the Holy Grail. So, did we find a Holy Grail? We'll tell you about that a little bit more later. So, there's a call to adventure. There's challenges in the quest. There's solutions, and I will finally end up with where are we now? Um, the quest is basically, can we provide researchers the best possible linguistic annotation? We start with part of speech and lemma of any historical Dutch text. I already put part of speech and lemma and historical between brackets. I'll come back to that later on. So the call to adventure. Well, basically, we are the Dutch Language Institute. We have a lexicographical infrastructure, and it's evidence-based. So we use corpora for modern Dutch and historical Dutch. So a very good annotation of corpus material, historical corpus material, is essential for the work we are doing. We also are a CLARIN B center, and we also publishing corpora with linguistic annotation. Also historical corpora from other researchers who have had a research project, and they have beautiful data, and we put it online for them. And usually people ask, can we also linguistically annotate it? So that is a question. And there was a large research infrastructure project, LARIA Plus, with a work package on using text for linguistic research, but also for historical research. And it became visible that was a need for a better automatic linguistic annotation for part of speech and lemma of historical Dutch in that project as well. So what are the challenges? Dutch language, one of them. Tag set and lemmatization principles, not obvious. High quality taggers, training material, and what we found very important is methodologically sound tool use, because you want to have a well-informed choice of the tools you are using for part of speech and lemmatization. So we need extensive evaluation and make evaluation available for and transparent for less technical users. They see a number and an F-score and they think, okay, it looks good, but what does it actually mean for my data? And what we also wanted is to have access for non-technical users. Basically, I'm a researcher, I'm doing a PhD project, I have a corpus, I want to enrich, I don't have any technical support. Can I benefit from basic linguistic annotation from my historical material, and can I do it on my own? Dutch language. These are examples of spelling variants in our database, central database, and of the spelling of world in historical language. So the green ones are what is actually in modern Dutch. So with a diminutive there. The challenge, can't be predicted by rules. It's a great deal of variety, and the orange ones, they are challenging because they have a multiple analysis. So sometimes just a pronoun or a particle will be added and glued together. So one token can be more lemma and part of speech information. I didn't put in the fact that there are words which have a space in between, which should be one word, but yeah, in historical text, well, it's spelled differently. So late standardization. For Dutch, the first spelling rules were defined at the end of the 19th century, and we have spelling reforms all through the beginning of the 21st century. So that is okay. I talk about tag set and lemmatization principles because if you evaluate or you produce gold standard data, you have to have not only a tag set, but principles how to assign the correct part of speech to what you find. So in a very large infrastructure project to build a very large historical corpus, diachronic corpus of Dutch, the Nederlab project, we started out with the tag set used in the Netherlands from Frank van Einde, corpus of spoken Dutch, and for the decoy corpus, but we found out within our project that there's issues when applied to historical Dutch. First, it's lexical, not functional. So for lexicalization is determined by lexicographers when they analyze a corpus and they find data, and then they can define whether a word is lexicalized or not. If you have diachronic corpus, when does the lexicalization take place? What do I use to determine whether it's already lexicalized if you haven't had done the research yet? The tag set was too detailed, and the principle of a combination of tag and lemma is enough to reconstruct the lemma form. That's a principle that doesn't apply to historical Dutch, if you remember my word forms for wereld. So we had to do that. And another issue was the lemmatization principles. They were just simply lacking. Because for historical Dutch, to have a diachronic overview of Dutch language from the 6th until present day, we assign the modern Dutch equivalent is the key, and we assign a modern Dutch lemma to each historical word form. So you need principles. So the quality, there was the first large corpus in the NELA project in which we tried to part of speech tag and lemmatize. We did either training, and we also there was also an experiment with word modernization. And as you can see here in the evaluation results, modernization helped a little bit, but there were issues because there was no available training data for modernization. So the experiment was done with 17th and 19th century Bible and alignment, machine translation based. But then the issue is that the system translated gemeenschap, community, with vergadering, gathering. So as a lexicographer, for part of speech, maybe it's okay, but for lemmatization, as a lexicographer or a historian looking for concepts and using the lemma, this is not a really nice result. So, what is our infrastructure? Basically, it consists of a tag set and tag set principle, guiding principles, lemmatization guidelines. We have gold standard training and evaluation material from the 13th to the 19th century. We have trained taggers and lemmatizers, currently on the Pi framework and the Hugging Face Transformers framework. And we have detailed evaluation of part-of-speech tagging and lemmatization available in a portal I talked to you about. And we call the portal for Galahad, Generating Linguistic Annotation for Historical Dutch. As a historical linguist, I was really happy with the acronym. Application for Corpus Annotation and Evaluation, and the Lancelot application, Lancelot for just manually creating historical data. So the tag set requirements, so it has to be mappable to existing tag sets, applicable to all language stages of Dutch. And we defined a core tag set because we wanted to produce large amounts of training data. So it had to be feasible. And we reviewed the tag set by historical linguists in both the Netherlands and Flanders to have really a common ground, and everybody agreed on the tag set because we want to build from there. It allows for both coarse-grained and fine-grained encoding. It's not that you have to apply everything. So, but if you decide in your project you want more detail, there's vocabulary for that, but it's always interoperable with other less fine-grained tagging. The linguistic unit is not token, but word. We have to do that because of historical Dutch. The word 2000 is spelled with a space. So, and we want to assign the lemma 2000 to 2 space 1000. So it's functional, but it can map to other tag sets. Lemmatization principles, the same, applicable to all language stages of Dutch, provide a consistent identity of a word throughout the entire history of Dutch language. So we only have an ID, but a lemma form. So what is the lemma? It's the canonical form in official spelling, according to the current Dutch spelling rules, and is based on etymological principles. So we are very careful saying that when you have a word like gehoorzaamheid, which in Dutch would be gehoorzaamigheid, which in Dutch would be gehoorzaamheid, we will assign the modern Dutch equivalent gehoorzaamigheid with the ich in there because it's a morpheme which we want to keep in modern Dutch, even if that is not used in modern Dutch. So, okay. This is the infrastructure, the global view. So you have the corpus data, the Gallagher taggers. It's a uniform Docker's APIs for training and inference. You have the linguistic, the platform, and you have Lancelot, an environment for manual annotation. So you basically have text as a user. You can upload, enrich, decide to create your own ground truth data, and we hope that we then can use that for training again. So that is the infrastructure. So what are the user scenarios? You choose the right tagger for my data, but means without having relevant gold standard data, you can do some informed decision. And when you have gold standard available, similar enough to your own corpus, or if you decide I have big corpus, it's worthwhile creating some ground truth. So to actually do a very well informed choice of taggers, you can do that as well. The only thing is you can keep the XML encoding, because a lot of researchers, especially using TI encoding and structural encoding, lose their annotation when they upload it in a tagger. So we do that as well. We keep the annotation. I see I have 5 minutes, so I put the slides in for the detailed infrastructure. I will skip that and say a little bit more about the infrastructure as such. You can have the presentation online and have mail always for questions later on. So the platform consists, you can upload, annotate, export corpora in different formats, create a project, share it with people, read only or work on it. You have 5 taggers lemmatizers, and there are preloaded benchmarks for well-informed choice, 15 datasets and evaluation. There's a possibility to evaluate the tools, to compare different tools on your data, and to do extensive evaluation. And there's easy integration. If you have students who want to use our training material to create a new tagger, we can easily incorporate it again in the infrastructure. So what does a user get? He gets all the taggers with the period they were trained on. And how do he chooses? Suppose I have he has all the benchmarks and all the data sets, and for each data set there's benchmarks. So suppose I have a 17th century text. I can see, well, it resembles mostly maybe the Couranten or the letters as Lut. This is also 17th century. So I can try these taggers and lemmatize it. So there's benchmarks. If you look at the Couranten, you'll see the result of the taggers for the Couranten for part of speech and lemma, and you can do all kinds of complicated things first. If you don't have a ground truth data, you can also look at the results in another way, which is something I really, as a user, non-technical, wanted to have some insight. What is my tagger actually doing? So you have an overview of the distribution. You have details on what it does with lemmata and part of speech. Per part of speech, you can look at it. And you can also compare layers. Suppose you have 2 taggers, you are hesitant. So you just start 2 tagging jobs on your data and then compare the layers, and you have here global metrics. And as you can see, there's on the false negatives of lemma, the material must be very challenging because the taggers really disagree quite substantially. Okay, suppose you have a gold standard data. You can just upload your gold standard data. So you have the reference layer is your source data, your gold standard. You can do the hypothesis layer by your tagger and then start comparing how well this tagger is doing on your data. So you get results, you get global metrics, you can inspect and see when you see, for instance, I saw a lot of false negative post samples. What does it look like? What are the issues? You can look into it and find out. And then you have metrics per group. How well does it do on a specific part of speech tag set? You can do that as well. You have a confusion matrix. You see here the biggest confusion is between noun proper and noun common. The arrow, you can look at the details and see what is happening. So why do I want this? Well, well-informed decision on evaluation is important because as a lexicographer, I want maybe rare words that are well lemmatized and not the most frequent ones. So the micro-averaging gives a general overview. The macro averaging gives equal weight to the lemmata. So it is, if you look at this detail, and I look at the couranten, and I see the standard F-score you read up, micro accuracy is 92. But look at the macro accuracy, it drops to 72. That means 1/3 of the less frequent words go wrong. So for some research, this is not really important, but for us as lexicographers, for instance, trying to find new words, this might be very important. That is why. I'm talking about the exports. Oh God, yeah. I wanted to say a little bit more about Lancelot. I'll skip that. I will just focus on two things. That is not, it's type-based, so you work from type to token. So it is very quick. If you have types, you can go to the tokens in and correct. So it's a tool which really very quickly produces gold standard data. It's also a service. You can upload and search your corpus, and you can download it again, upload it in Lancelot Search, and the researcher basically has a tool to produce gold standard, but also a tool to view their own data. What is happening now currently, that's methodologically sound enrichment and informed choice of enrichment. It is expanded in the SHOCNL project. There's new developments. We are expanding now to part of speech, not only part of speech tagging and lemmatization, but also linguistic annotation with universal dependencies, named entity recognition. So in the SHOCNL project, we will expand the platform further with these infrastructure tools with the same evaluation options in there. What will we do still is find solutions for the weaker spots, oldest material, lemmatization of low frequency types. We are currently researching what LLMs and AI can do there. Named entity and dependency syntax are our current evaluation of all these nice UD pipelines is that the lemmatization for Dutch is extremely poor. So we have to do something about that. We want to offer the people a document view on their data. And we do UD annotation of dialects. We'll be annotating historical Dutch in the press mint. We'll be mapping TDN to UD, of course, and we'll produce training materials. And as you go for the quest, it's not my work, it's not work by Jesse, but there's an entire team behind this. So sorry for rushing through, but I hope you got an impression. Thank you.
Thanks very much for this presentation. It just did not give only an impression. I thought it was impressive, actually.
Thank you.
So, I was wondering how you see the relation between this work and something that is called Nederlab in the Netherlands.
Yeah, I was involved in the Nederlab project for lexicon building and finally corpus building as well. And I started to do initial evaluations on the linguistic annotation. And it was really the Nederlab project which drove me to say we really have to do something about this diachronic view on Dutch language and linguistic annotation because the results were that poor. So hopefully, my long-term dream is that eventually we reprose the Nederlab corpus, put it in a Black Lab search engine with a very nice linguistic annotation for the entire language data. So in that sense, the Nederlab project was a large motivation to do this. So hopefully we'll find the time to do that eventually. But that's a general idea that lives within the Netherlands, within HUC as well as our institute. So